time is 6:15. Here is the news, edited by Dilini Gunawardana, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The report on the frauds in the 4 warehouses belonging to the Paddy Marketing Board is handed over to the Minister Mahinda Amaravira. The government is paying attention to decrease all categories of taxes. The approval of the Attorney General has been received for the draft of the Prevention of Frauds Amendment Act. It is emphasized that the aim of the government is to uplift cricket in the country. Saudi Arabia commends the progress achieved by Sri Lanka. Foreign news, G7 foreign ministers set for talks in Japan. Sports news, Cricket World Cup. The match between Afghanistan and Australia is currently underway. Local news in detail. Information regarding the disappearance of the paddy stock in the 4 warehouses belonging to the Paddy Marketing Board in the Kurunegala district was reported to the Minister of Agriculture. Minister Mahinda Amaravira advised the chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board, Mr. Buddhika Iddamalgoda, to start an investigation immediately. Steps have been taken to suspend 5 officials accused of this fraud. Currently, 3 further investigations are being conducted in this regard, and an internal audit investigation, a preliminary investigation, and an investigation by the CID are underway. Minister Ranjit Siambalapati says that the government is paying attention to decrease all categories of taxes. He highlighted the significance of the public attention towards fraudulent transactions. The minister added that the government has spent 270 billion rupees as concessions given to the public. The approval of the Attorney General has been received for the draft of the Prevention of Frauds Amendment Act. Cabinet approval was also given to be tabled at the Parliament after issuance of the Gazette notification in this regard. The resolution was tabled by Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa. Meanwhile, Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardana said that the Cabinet approval has been granted to table the prospective amendments for the Customs Ordinance. The sections on the collection of revenue, transparency and facilitating trades need to be amended. The minister added that the recommendations made by the committee to study the issuance in clearing the retained goods by the customs will also be taken into consideration in making the necessary amendments. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal submitted by the President to initiate the establishment of the Sri Lanka Economic Commission and related units. The focus of this is to create a more conducive environment for the promotion of exports and imports. This will be carried out by consolidating the Board of Investment and Export Development Board. A monitoring committee in this regard has already been established under the Presidential Secretariat. Suggestions regarding this structure of the new organization to be established have always been submitted. Saudi Arabia commends the progress achieved by Sri Lanka in the field of naval and aviation. The Saudi Arab ambassador to Sri Lanka, Khalid Hamaznazar Al-Qahtani, expressed these views at the discussion held at the Ministry Nimal Siripal de Silva today. Affirmed that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has always been proactive in assisting the island and assured its continuous unconditional support to the country in the debt optimization process of the IMF. The minister spoke about the long-lasting relationship between the two countries and expressed his gratitude for the contribution of Saudi Arabia in generating foreign exchange. That ends local news.
The main news news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the aim of the government is to uplift cricket in the country. He noted this at the press conference to inform the media of the cabinet decisions. A committee consisting 4 ministers have been appointed to make a comprehensive study in this regard. The minister emphasized the international rules and regulations and the possible outcome of the situation should be taken into consideration before taking an action on this matter. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
Moving on to Watchlight. The Ministry of Agriculture has decided to provide diesel worth of 17,000 rupees per farmer during this Maha cultivation season. To farmers, those cultivations were destroyed as a result of the drought situation which provided over the last Yala season. The minister said that this subsidy is provided in addition to the concessionary payment of 15,000 rupees for the purchase of fertilizer and the compensation of 100,000 rupees per hectare provided by the government. That came to you on Watchlight. Moving on to world news, let's take a look at the headlines. G7 foreign ministers set for talks in Japan. Premier Netanyahu says Israel to have security responsibility for Gaza after fighting. The most distant active supermassive black hole to date is detected. World news in detail. Foreign ministers of several global powers along with the European Union are gathering in Japan for 2 days of talks that will center on Israel's ongoing war in Gaza. Top diplomats of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan and the United Kingdom and the United States as well as the EU are due to hold talks in Tokyo as the death toll in Gaza mounts and concerns grow that the war could devolve into a regional crisis. However, political analysts are of the view that reaching common ground in this regard may be challenging due to the country's varying political and economic loyalties. Israeli Premier Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will have overall security responsibility for Gaza once the fighting ends for an indefinite period. He resists all calls for a ceasefire but says shorter humanitarian forces might be possible. On the ground, Israel says it attacked Hamas targets in Gaza from their air, sea and the ground operations. Explosions were reported in the southern city of Khan Yunis with pictures showing destroyed buildings. Researchers have discovered the most distant active supermassive black hole to date with the James Webb Space Telescope. The galaxy Sears 1019 existed just over 570 million years after the Big Bang, and its black hole is less massive than any other yet identified in the early universe. Not only that, they have easily shaken out 2 more black holes that are also on the smaller side and existed 1 and 1.1 billion years after the Big Bang. The evidence was provided by the Webb's Cosmic Evaluation Early Release Science Survey led by Stephen Finkelstein of the University of Texas. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. G7 foreign ministers set for talks in Japan. Premier Netanyahu says Israel to have security responsibility for Gaza after fighting. The most distant active supermassive black hole to date is detected. That ends world news.
Development news.
With king coconut exports up by 117% in 2023, the agriculture and plantation industry has formulated a proposal to establish a model village for the cultivation of king coconuts for export next year. Agriculture and Plantation Industries Minister Mahinda Amaravira recently said, in view of the rapidly rising demand for Sri Lankan king coconut in the international market, He had discussed with the officers of the Coconut Development Board, Sri Lanka Coconut Research Institute and Coconut Development Authority the measures to be taken in the future for the development of coconut cultivation in Sri Lanka and the progress made in that regard so far. That ends development news.
Moving on with sports news.
The match between Afghanistan and Australia is currently underway at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Afghanistan captain Hasmatullah Shahid won the toss and chose to bat first. Ibrahim Sadan scored a brilliant 129 runs, not out. At the end of 50 overs, Afghanistan scored 291 runs for 5 wickets. That ends sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Gamer.lk, an industry-leading gaming and e-sports agency based in Sri Lanka, has emerged triumphant at the National Best Quality Software Awards, NBQSA, securing 2 significant awards in the consumer media and entertainment category. The company has been awarded gold for their in-game esports metaverse platform and bronze for their innovative Cricket Sixes mobile game. Additionally, their achievements at the NBQSA have also made them eligible for a nomination at the Asia Pacific ICT Awards held in Hong Kong this year. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news. The Institute of Policy Studies said only 7.7% of working-age women are engaged in formal employment with decent wages and decent working hours, noting that household and caregiving responsibilities and limited availability of jobs compound Sri Lanka's low levels of female labour force participation. It further added that women face challenges when participating in the labour force and securing decent work due to these issues. That came to you on Economic News.
Weather report.
Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the most provinces of the island after 1 p.m. Heavy showers, about 100 mm, are likely at some places in the western, central, Sabaragamuwa and Ubud provinces and in Gol and Matra districts. Showers may occur in the northern and eastern provinces during the morning too. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and Ubud provinces during the morning. That ends with the report. To conclude the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The report on the frauds in the 4 warehouses belonging to the Paddy Marketing Board is handed over to Minister Mahinda Amaravira. The government is paying attention to decrease all categories of taxes. The approval of the Attorney General has been received for the draft of the Prevention of Frauds Amendment Act. It is emphasized that the aim of the government is to uplift cricket in the country. Saudi Arabia commends the progress achieved by Sri Lanka. Foreign G7 foreign ministers get for talks in Japan. Sports news: Cricket World Cup. The match between Afghanistan and Australia is currently underway. With that, we wrap up evening news on Radio Sri Lanka. Back to my friend and yours as well, Chandima Pirakon.